Hello and welcome from the Journey Museum and Learning Center. Happy Veterans Day! Today I'm going to show you how to make a poppy wreath to give to a veteran. Veterans Day is a time for us to remember those who have served in the armed forces and to give them thanks for helping us be free in our great country. So to make this project, you will need an egg carton, some red paint or red marker, a black marker or black paint, some string, and a paintbrush. And maybe a paper plate or paper, or perhaps a wreath form that you can get somewhere at a craft store. Today I'm using a paper plate, and I happen to be using a small paper plate. You can also make this with a large one, but I kind of like the way a small one looks. So, how did I make these poppies? Well, I've taken my egg carton, and as you can see, I've already started cutting some of these away. So what I do is I just take a pair of scissors, and I cut right along that edge there. And I separate these little egg cups from each other. Okay. Then the next thing is you'll notice generally, well, this one's probably a little better looking. You can see that there are 4 points. I'm going to cut those points away from each other. So in that little indent in between, I'll just cut it down. And I cut it directly to the center, but I won't cut the center itself. Then I'll flatten it. Okay. Now what you may notice is with these poppy flowers that I have, they're more rounded. A real poppy flower is rounded, so to mimic that, I take my scissors and I round off those pointed tops. Now when you're rounding off your tops, you can do it either before or after painting. I like to do mine before, but sometimes I'll touch it up afterwards. So for an example, this one right here I've already painted, and I see that my edge is kind of a little bit pointed here, and I didn't quite get paint along the edge, so I'll just trim that off. Now, when you make these poppies, it's so simple. When you're painting those leaves, you could also, I guess you could say petals, not leaves, but you paint these petals. In the center, you could use black paint, but I chose to use a Sharpie marker for the center. You'll just see that any marker would do on here. And to attach it to my plate, I like to use a little bit of black string. You could also use glue if you'd like. Or perhaps you can, I've seen some ideas online where you can have some maybe fake green leaves to put on in between the flowers. You could always paint the plate if you'd like to kind of fill it in more. There's all different varieties you can do here. And then I just turn it over, and I'm just going to tie my string here. And if it gets to be too big of a string, you can trim off all these excess here. What I like about using the string as opposed to gluing is that it's movable. So as I add more flowers in, I can move them to make room for it. Or if I choose not to have as many flowers, I can space them apart. So it does add for some flexibility here. Another thing you can do is take a string and put it across the top so you can hang your wreath from a door, a wall, wherever you choose. All right, so I'm gonna finish up this last one here. And as I am, what I think is always important to talk about for Veterans Day is that it's important to have veterans in your lives, or maybe ones you don't know, and give them thanks. There are different ways to do that. Here in Rapid City, every year we have a parade for Veterans Day. This year we're going to have a ceremony down in Main Street Square. I think it's important to come to events like that to show the veterans that you appreciate what they've done for you. Sometimes there are concerts that people have for veterans. There are luncheons. And when you go there, I think it's also important to say thanks. It's appropriate, you could ask them about their time serving, but do be careful of some more sensitive subjects. Something like this wreath or other gifts would be good to give to a veteran in your life to show them that you appreciate them. One thing you could do with a wreath like this is you could have a ribbon to go across the center, and it could say remember, or it can say the person's name. You could put a picture inside. So it's important on Veterans Day to acknowledge and thank veterans, but it's also important when you see them on other days to give them appreciation too. So I'm hoping that this will maybe inspire you at home to go out and thank a veteran and maybe make a gift for them, or write a letter to them, maybe visit a vet hospital or someplace. So I just want to say Happy Veterans Day from the Journey Museum and Learning Center, and I want to thank all the veterans for their service.